Okay, council, it's 7 o'clock on Wednesday, March the 19th, 2025. I call this meeting to order. Will everyone please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance? Pledge of Allegiance.
To the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you all. Okay. Up next on the agenda, we have the roll call. I think I'm missing one up here. Okay. All right, Ms. Ariel.
Counselor Jan Vigil,
Here.
Counselor Jackie Vigil,
Here.
all counselors present.
Okay, thank you. All right, that brings us to the next item on the agenda is the agenda approval. Yes, Councilor Carson.
I move that we approve the agenda as presented.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? If not, please start voting.
Counselor Jan Vigil,
Yes.
Counselor Jackie Vigil.
Yes.
I can't see anything. The motion carried unanimously.
Okay, thank you. That brings us to the next item on the agenda, citizen comments. This is the segment of the agenda to where if we have anyone in the audience who would like to make comments, we collect the comment cards from you. If there's anyone here who had plans on making those comments, and we ask you to come up to the podium and make those comments. There is a 3-minute time limit. We do ask that you in your comments at the 3-minute time mark. If you're still speaking at that time, I would politely ask you to have a seat. I don't have any comment cards, so we didn't receive any.
I do not either.
Okay. All right. So since we didn't receive any comments cards, I'm going to open up the comment portion for the people who are on Zoom. So if you're on Zoom and you would like to make a comment at this time, we do ask that you keep your comments to within 3 minutes. If you would like to be recognized, use the raise your hand feature on your computer to raise your hand so we can recognize you to make your comments at this time. I don't see any hands raised.
I do not either, Mayor.
Okay, so since I don't see any hands raised and you don't see any, we're gonna go ahead and close the comment section of the agenda and move on down to the next item, which is under ceremonial items, proclamation and recognition of 100-year-old resident Hazel Petty. Okay, wow, that's amazing. So before I read this proclamation, do we have anyone in the audience here on behalf of Ms. Hazel Petty? Okay, all right, how you doing?
Cold.
Okay, good, good. Well, we're gonna read this proclamation here in a few minutes, and then after the proclamation, if you would like to come up, City Council would present the proclamation if you're the one that we're supposed to present it to for on behalf of Hazel. So that's okay? All right, okay, good deal. I actually hope that one day somebody's gonna read this proclamation for me. Okay, here we go. The City of Alamosa Proclamation in recognition of the 100th birthday of Hazel Petty. Whereas Hazel Petty is a lifelong resident of Alamosa, Colorado, and whereas Hazel Petty is the daughter of Luther Bean and graduated from Adams State University, and whereas Hazel Petty is a member of the Daughters of the American Revolution, the First United Methodist Church of Alamosa, and whereas Hazel Petty is also active in many organizations, including the SLV Museum and the Historical Society. And whereas Ms. Hazel Petty turned 100 years old on March the 18th, 2025. Now therefore, I, Ty Coleman, Mayor of the City of Alamosa, and on behalf of the Alamosa City Council and all of the citizens of Alamosa, recognize and congratulate Ms. Hazel Petty on celebrating her 100th birthday, given under my hand and seal of the City of Alamosa this 19th day of March 2025. Congratulations to Ms. Hazel Petty, everybody. We're going to come down and present this to you. And just want to thank you for giving us this opportunity.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Thank you. Thank you. How are you doing? Thank you. So we'll do that. Thank you. I wonder where I go. I don't know.
Okay, 1, 2, 3.
I would have brought one, but it's a little cold out there and a little late for her. It's a little cold for me. I will do that. Thank you all very much. Thank you.
Okay. That brings us to the next item on the agenda, the consent calendar A.
I'll move to accept consent calendar A.
A second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All right. If not, please start voting. Oops.
Counselor Jackie Vigil,
Yes.
Counselor Jan Vigil,
Yes.
the motion carried unanimously.
Okay. Thank you. All right, up next on the agenda, we have presentations from outside agencies, annual update from outside funding partner, Boys and Girls Club. Aaron?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, council.
You're welcome.
Appreciate the opportunity to come and visit with you 2 times in a row. I was just up here a couple weeks ago, so it's nice to see you in person. I will note that you're still winning the tie game over Mayor Pro Tem. I was looking out this time, Liz, so I was trying to see what game you brought. Yeah. I don't want to take a lot of your time today. I think the council knows, we work really closely together. You know, the work that the Boys and Girls Clubs of the San Luis Valley has done. I want to do a little bit of time just to highlight some of the impact of your work. So Boys and Girls Clubs over the past 8 years has grown significantly. I'm celebrating the end of my 7th year with the Boys and Girls Club. I started in 2018 on April 1st. And so it's been a full 7 years and I'm entering into my 8th year in this role. When I stepped in, I was the 6th CEO in 7 years. And so consistency is king. I don't think I'm doing anything particularly important, but I've been around and I'm staying with my people and I'm listening and I'm trying to do what the people are asking me to do. Part of that has been to grow our programs and services. And so I know that the presentation today is specific to the city of Alamosa, but I want to take a second to highlight that we're outside of the city of Alamosa. When we started in 2018, we just had that one big site down on 10th and 285. We've now grown to 8 different sites all across the San Luis Valley. We're up in Mountain Valley School up in Saguache. We're providing services with Moffett. We're in Crestone for summer program. We partner with Center. We're in Sierra Grande, Blanca Fort Garland area. We're down in Antonito. We have our main site. We opened up in the K2 building to accommodate some extra needs, and we opened up our arcade. In January of this year, we opened up down in San Luis. So we really are fulfilling our mission as the Boys and Girls Clubs of the San Luis Valley. As our sites have grown, I think our numbers have grown as well. We had over 770 members last year. A lot of those don't necessarily come into a club on a daily basis. So our average daily attendance was a little under 200 over all of our clubs, because a lot of the programs and services that we do now don't require somebody getting off the bus, coming into a site. It's internship programs, it's work-based learning programs, it's certifications and trainings. We have a team of young people right now, and I'd love to bring them back in to do a little presentation with you all, that are working on substance and use prevention. And we have 2 teams from every community across the valley that are working on their plan for how they want their community to address substance use. It's really exciting stuff. So while the typical Boys and Girls Club has grown, I want you also to know that the way that we deliver service has changed significantly. We're doing a lot in resource navigation. So one of the things that we found is kids would show up tired and cranky, grumpy, their clothes were all torn. And when we tried to provide help for them at the club, we would find out that there were problems going on at home that they needed some support with. We had kids sleeping in mattresses in garages. We had kids who were sleeping on couches, and that was their bed at the home. And so we're working on youth homelessness prevention. We're getting them connected with dentists and doctors. We're getting them shoes. One of my favorite stories is about this little girl named Serafina. And she had some shoes, and she would always take them off when she came into the club. And one day I came up to her and I said, "What's going on with your shoes? Why do you take them off when you come in the club?" She said, "Mister, my shoes hurt." I said, "Well, why do they hurt?" She said, "Well, they're too small." And I said, "Well, don't you have any shoes that fit?" She said, "No, these are the only shoes my family can afford." And so we took some of those funds. Actually, I just marched her right over to Family Dollar. We bought her 3 pairs of shoes so that she had shoes that fit her feet, so that she didn't have shoes that hurt. And those are the kinds of things I can't imagine going to school every day with shoes that are too small that hurt your feet. I'd be grumpy. I'd have a hard time studying. I'd have a hard time paying attention. So the services that we've provided are different than just tutoring, homework help, arts and crafts, and HEAL. But those are still primary programs that we provide. I want to have you guys flip to the middle. There's this bright, beautiful impact report. We had over 30,000 member visits last year. That's amazing. 30,000 member visits over the course of last year, all across the San Luis Valley. For Alamosa, our average daily attendance was 89.8. That's a little lower than I had wanted it to be. It's lower than it has been in the past, and I think we're still feeling the impacts of COVID. But we also are doing other programs and services outside of just the scan in at the front desk. We served 789 members across the San Luis Valley in 2024. And I think I'm excited to share with you all, we served over 28,000 healthy snacks. We know that some of the history of this funding from the city of Alamosa was about get kids moving, healthy activities, healthy eating. And those are things we're really excited about. We're a little over a year after purchasing and opening up our hub space down at 516. We just got a license with a commercial kitchen that's available for rent. If you know anybody who needs a commissary kitchen, we're doing classes in there. We're doing certifications in there. We have a garage where kids are changing oil and changing tires and learning how to do basic maintenance. We have a brand new, I probably shouldn't tell you this because it hasn't opened yet, but we have a gear library for any of our partners. So Jamie, you come on by anytime. We got sleeping bags, we got bikes, we got tents, we got jackets. Melanzana just gave us a whole bunch of jackets for kids to use when they go outside. So we know that those are barriers, you know, to kids climbing up mountains. Why don't you want to go? Well, they come and they're cold and they're wet and they have a hard time. And that'll be run by a couple of teens as well. So we'll pay them for that. We're really excited about some of those team programs that we're doing. And then the very back page of your pamphlet talks a little bit about quality of life. These are some measurements from a survey that we do every year called the NYOI, or National Youth Outcomes Inventory. Of our members, 51% report being physically active more than 5 days a week. And I think that's higher than national averages, right? So we're doing a pretty good job of getting our members active. 60% report eating 5+ servings of vegetables regularly. 84% of our members report helping people in their communities, and 82% report very high avoidance of risky behaviors. And I think those are really some things that we can hang our hats on, and you as the city can hang your hats on in supporting the work of out-of-school programs like the Boys and Girls Club. I also want to say that Tuesday of next week is our Youth of the Year breakfast. I hope you all will come, 7 a.m. We'll have some beautiful, sorry, it's not going to be Eve's backdoor burritos anymore, but we'll have some beautiful breakfast for you. I just heard the story from our Youth of the Year. She's selected for this year. I gave you a little hint. And it's going to be a phenomenal morning. So love to see you all on the 25th at 7 a.m. And thank you for your support.
Okay, well, thank you for that presentation, but I just want to make sure that, see if any council members have any comments or follow-up.
I do.
Okay, yes, Counselor Hens.
All right, so I may not wear a tie, but Aaron, you get an A for all you do. When you said that you had been here 7 years, honestly, and I mean this in a positive way, I thought it'd been a lot longer, because the amount of stuff you have done in that 7-year time frame is unbelievable. And with that, I look at it and I think, so the A is the key letter here, the amazing growth that you have helped spearhead and lead, the awesome grants that you're getting. Those are things that are making huge differences. The all-around support for our kids, the absolute passion you have for our community, that you create tools for our youth to be our future leaders. These people are already part of our community, you think 7 years ago, and then obviously what's continuing to happen. So I just want to say from the bottom of my heart, how much you've made a difference. And I feel like we are totally blessed to have you.
Thank you, Councilman.
Yep, Counselor Dominguez.
I just want to say thank you, Aaron, for partnering with us. You show up to every single meeting. The report doesn't give a full scope of what you do in our community. And I remember sitting at the park, Boys and Girls Club Park, talking to you when I first was it was with my probation officer, talking about what kind of club they wanted here. And this was, geez, I can't even remember what year, maybe early
1992.
92.
Yeah.
And we had talked about a Boys and Girls Club, and it's come full circle for me to work with somebody who's in charge there and remember that day. Definitely, if I would have had this growing up, these guys probably wouldn't have had to chase me so much. So thank you for what you do and also what you do outside of the club.
Thank you, Councilman.
Thank you, Counselor Dominguez. Let me see if we don't have anyone on Zoom with their mic on. If not, I'll go ahead. Oh, Counselor Carson.
I was just gonna be a smart aleck and say there was no way that I could top Liz's A-list.
No, right?
Thank you, Aaron. You know, you're a rock star and I've seen it. I was at the Boys and Girls Club probably 4 or 5 directors before you, helping them and just with IT stuff, you know, and it's just a whole other world since you've been there. And so thank you for the work on the other project too. I was talking with people yesterday about that, and they're pretty blown away.
Yeah.
They weren't aware that it was all going on. And it's amazing with as much marketing and talking as that's been out there, that people still aren't completely aware of it. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Counselor Carson, and I don't see any hands raised on Zoom, so I'll go ahead and just wrap up the compliments. Thank you so very much for congratulations on the 7 years. Really glad to see all the work that you've done and what you're continuing to do. And I couldn't sit up here today without talking about the Mayor's Challenge.
Yeah.
We want to make sure that we let the community know the importance of the Early Childhood Center that you're working on with your team, and how important it is that we need people to make contributions and donations. And the city has the $50,000, I believe we have set aside. So we're encouraging everyone to take part of that. This is huge. We cannot, we've come too close to let this opportunity pass away. So it's urgent. So I just wanted to plug that as well. All right.
Appreciate you. I would be remiss in not saying that I appreciate all the compliments, and it's a team of people, going, from young people like Counselor Carson and Counselor Dominguez, who really idealize this club, to this team of staff that really show up every day and make a difference. So I'm just a pretty face that stands up here, but there's a big team of people that makes that difference.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay, that brings us to the next item on the agenda. Update from Habitat for Humanity. All right.
Hi,
Hi.
I just want to commend Aaron. I first met Aaron years ago before he moved to the Valley, and he came to Habitat for Humanity with a work group with youth. And I'm so grateful that he was inspired by the San Luis Valley to be here, because you are a true blessing, Aaron. So hi, I'm Audrey Liu. I'm the Executive Director of Habitat for Humanity, and we really thank you for the invitation to share our work with you this evening. Habitat for Humanity is very appreciative of the support from the City of Alamosa. We're celebrating 30 years of serving the San Luis Valley. The city's funding is providing affordable home ownership with a very low-income family. You met Trudy last year when she spoke with me. She's going to be moving in fairly soon, and she and her family are so excited. We're excited that Trudy and her family will have a safe and secure place to live. The city's funding is providing the windows in her home to be, bringing in the sunlight and the fresh air, and also her front and back doors, welcoming her family home every time they walk in the door. I think that's very touching. Affordable housing will provide a positive environment for Trudy and her children as they go through school, through work, and through their lives. Their family will have a strong foundation upon which to build their future dreams and a stable place that they can call home. Habitat's self-help model toward home ownership promotes self-sufficiency. Trudy and her family, they have helped with all aspects of the building of the home. It's so amazing to see her little 7-year-old with a big wheelbarrow full of weeds, and I think the wheelbarrow is bigger than him, but they want to be a part of building the house, and that helps them gain skills in learning how to build. They get more become familiar with home maintenance, and then they take pride and ownership in a house that they have helped to build. She and her kids were painting, and Trudy's so great. Her 3 kids, they're all painting the shelves and the walls, and it's amazing to think about what it will be when they're living in their home. Habitat's investment in building strength in our community can be seen throughout a family's lifetime. One of our homeowners' daughters, she was 8 years old when we started building her house. Now she's grown up and she is the theater director at the middle school, touching lives and teaching the students of our community. And I think that's very, very moving. Our partnership with Habitat Families continues to grow even after they've moved into their homes. Trudy and the other Habitat homeowners, they're contributing $60,000 in mortgage payments, which is invested every year into building the next Habitat house. The Habitat homeowners also contribute over $10,000 in property taxes, which help support our schools, our parks, our roads, and many, many services. So stable homeownership contributes to the success and the development of our community. And we truly thank the City of Alamosa for supporting the work of Habitat for Humanity and for being a creative solution in providing affordable housing, supporting self-sufficiency through homeownership, and developing long-term stability in our community. And we at Habitat, our work, we believe, a place to call home, continues to give for a lifetime. So thank you for supporting us.
Well, thank you, Audrey. I'm gonna open up the mic to see if we have any comments. We'll start off with Councilor Hensley.
So I think it's awesome what you do. I'm always very impressed every year when you come and talk about this. One of the things that I do think is fantastic is that idea that the whole family has that ownership and pride in what they're doing, and they're part of it. It's not just something given to them. They really work hard, and that's going to carry with them for the rest of their life. And so it really makes a difference, and it's that full circle. So thank you for all you do.
Thank you.
Okay, all right. I don't see any other, Counselor Vigil, Jan Vigil. I see your hand raised.
Thank you, Mayor. As some of you know, I also sit on this board. I just want to congratulate Audrey and her team. I think council needs to know all the work that they do behind the scenes, getting organized, getting builders there, getting there's just so many components to get a house together and get it going. And Audrey and her team do a really good job of doing that, and I just appreciate you, Audrey, for helping us with our housing crisis. We're hitting it from a bunch of different angles, and the Habitat for Humanity angle is very important. Thank you.
Thanks, Jan.
Thank you, Counselor Young V. Hill. And I'll just wrap things up, Audrey. The work that you do is huge, and it's a huge undertaking for the families as well as your team. I just want to thank you for providing not only a home for those people in need, but continuing to provide hope for those who want to one day achieve the dream of homeownership. Keep up the great work.
Thank you.
You're welcome. All righty, thank you. Okay, that brings us to the next item on the agenda, lead and co-responder update. I believe we have Ms. Clarissa out there and also, oh, yeah.
Really, at the, like, you're taller than me. Oh, hi, it's nice to see you all again. Do you want lead or co-responder to go first?
You guys can go for lead.
Okay. I know, lead. Okay, so we're all lead. And we're all gonna pitch in on what we talk about today. We've been having consistent referrals, which is really nice. And what's also been happening is there's been more law enforcement buy-in, which I think we need to be talking about it with Sergeant Squires and Stephanie, because they've done a lot of that work. You want to talk about just kind of how it's going and?
Yeah, we could jump in right in. So we've had a lot of discussions with lead on getting buy-in from law enforcement is different coming from law enforcement, right? Getting that buy-in from a police officer rather than case managers and stuff like that. It's listened in a different way by cops from a cop, right? That was kind of our approach when revamping this buy-in from other agencies. We've got Monty PD back involved heavily, which weren't involved at all for the last little while. They've already actually sent us referrals. The lead case managers went over there and did a training for Monty PD to get them up to speed. Stephanie's made it way easier to actually get referrals signed up. I mean, simple as scanning a QR code on a cell phone and boom, the referral is done. Alamosa Sheriff's Office is on board, which is a huge win. We did not think that was going to be possible, but with a little effort and consistency, I would say it made it happen. Center PD is also, we give it a presentation to Center PD to get them back on board to get deferment referrals through lead. Center PD is going through a transitional phase right now, but they are on board. It's just giving them time to, get their feet under them a little bit, and then start sending in referrals. Our next step would be Del Norte PD and Rio Grande County Sheriff's Office. Probably loop in South Fork when we do that meeting as well, since they have their own police department, and get those deferments going through that agency as well. Alamosa PD is the same. We had to get buy-in from our officers just as much as we do anybody else. And I would say that's a huge success from guys that, weren't so into this program. Some of the officers that were the ones that are not excited about it are now the ones giving us the most deferments. It's kind of crazy. So, I think hearing it from a cop is getting different buy-in from cops. So Alamosa PD to date is at 7 deferment referrals, which means we defer criminal charges and making sure they get enrolled in lead and are successful in lead before those criminal charges are dropped or they move forward with the judicial process. And then outside of the deferments, I would estimate around, 15 to 20 social referrals that have also come through the police department. So.
Okay. It's a team effort. We try and jump on a referral. We call them warm handoffs. So the minute there is a person that's saying, yeah, I do need help, and yes, I'm willing to look at this, whoever, if it's an officer, whether it's Stephanie, whether it's some of our community agencies, we try and get a warm handoff really quickly done. And in between that, we try and send a referral to APD and they run a background check and then they check for eligibility. So we move really quickly because people change their mind and we lose them. A lot of our people are homeless and they don't have a place. And so we want to get our hooks in them quickly, get them a phone so that then we can start communicating. I would say we're still having a lot of high mental health referrals, which we've got the substance use, and then we've got the mental health needs. Sometimes they have fired their behavioral health agency and they're starting to cause trouble wherever they're just struggling. And so we work with co-responders, we work with law enforcement, we work with our partners to try and figure out really the best way to work with people who don't always want to work with us and are not always ready. And so that also is a really collaborative effort. We can have housing at the table. We can have emergency services from like mental health there. We can have someone from law enforcement and our lead person, our case manager, kind of working together to try and figure out how we can get someone on their meds. We're wanting to use more peers because sometimes they will be able to have conversations we can't, and they'll let them in a little more. So that's going on, and that's one of our challenges. And it's also really, we have a lot of participants with those issues. Housing. So we have more housing options, which is really nice. Rent is really expensive. So that's been a challenge. And then we also have found that a lot of people, even though they need housing, and we found housing, keeping them from blowing out of housing is really a challenge too. And so we're trying to get as much life skills as we can in there. Again, I think we're going to look more at maybe some peer conversations. Sometimes they want to bring in extra people in the homes because they were on the streets themselves and they know how hard that is, and they can't say no to people, and they really struggle. And it's hard to take care of yourself when you're out there. So those are just some of the things that we deal with all the time. We are still going to St. Benedict's, and there's a lower population there, but we're still going out there. We go to the needle exchanges, and there's a few around the valley. And oh, I had a success story. It's so short. I thought I would read this one. Usually I don't. This was a 20-something, I'm vague just in case, 20-something female who'd been abusing opioids since the age of 13, smoking methamphetamine daily. She did not have insurance, so we assisted her in getting coverage with Medicaid. So then she said she was ready to get treatment. She was able to go to Hope in the Valley. They did a medical detox. Then she began MAT services with Suboxone. And now she's in intensive outpatient treatment 3 times a week. And we're helping transport and getting her there. And it looks like she's going to go to a monthly injection soon. So that's really kind of exciting, and it was short. So I grabbed that one quickly. I guess in the future, I'll just say we are looking at about a 12% right now reduction next year. The state has warned us that they're worried about the budget, everybody knows. And they don't know for sure, so something else may come down, but we're going to be submitting that within a week. And then, the conference. So there's a collaborative criminal justice conference. I have to write that down. It's CCJC is what we all call it. It's in Denver, and they have it every year. And the lead sites are all going to be asked to do a presentation. The 3 of us are going to be involved in it. And so there'll be the 4 sites, and then a lot of criminal justice professionals all over the state will be there. So that was kind of neat. I could go on, but I know I don't need to. What, if you have questions?
I tell you
anything
what.
else?
Stephanie, were you gonna say something?
No?
Well, and I think we still have the co-responder, so we can either do questions for lead, or they can do co-responder and do all questions at the end too.
Yeah, how about we go ahead and do the co-responder, and at the end, we'll ask the questions, okay?
Okay, so this quarter, the co-responders did 98 calls. That did include follow-up. And we did 17 jail assessments, spending 15 and a half hours at the jail assessing people. We are currently working with the jail to find treatment for some individuals. So Hope in the Valley might be open for a few, but there are a few that want to kind of leave the valley to do that. So we're currently doing those. We did some assessments in there today. to be able to hopefully get them into treatment.
Yeah, and with the treatment, so we've assisted in about 5 or 6 M.5 holds. An M.5 hold gives law enforcement or a co-responder the ability to place somebody on a temporarily inpatient hold. And then they get evaluated by a mental health professional or by the emergency physician doctor, decide if they get placement or not. And out of those 6, 4 of them have received inpatient treatment, which means they're shipped somewhere else to receive that treatment inpatient. They stay there, receive the treatment for however long they deem fit before they return back to our community. This, having a co-responder unit is opening up services to people in this community that have never been available before. The services might have been available, but we as a police department didn't know how to access these services, and these folks do. So having them is incredible. The first IC, involuntary command, I know you guys have heard about that from the chief, the first one in the state of Colorado by a police department. We're working on several more. I think we've got 4 or 5 on Stephanie's list to build up new IC cases. We're pretty much paving that path for law enforcement in the state of Colorado. It's never been done. We're the first ones to do it, and we're gonna keep doing them and continue to be successful with them. Competency court, our co-responders are heavily involved in competency court through the criminal courts at Alamosa County, but we're also involving municipal court as well to try to, mend services, get people from municipal court involved in the Alamosa County competency court as well. And I mean, working in the jail right now is, they went through a hard time not having behavioral health services for their folks there. So utilizing our co-responders is a huge win, not just for us, but for the county guys as well. So. And like Stephanie said, 98 calls for service. That's Monday through Friday, 8 to 5. That doesn't include, the countless emails from our patrol officers that are dealing with individuals after hours that our co-responders are then picking up the next morning. And that's an untraceable number. There's so many of them. So that 98 calls for service is tracked through our CAD system, but that is when they're at work, when they're checking in with dispatch and stuff like that. So, and I know we brought up St. Benedict's. They're still heavily involved out there. We do only have 9 residents. We have 9 residents currently in St. Benedict's. So they are still heavily involved with everybody. I mean, our people know everyone out there now by first name basis, and they're still heavily involved out there as well. So.
Okay, that's good. That's good. So now I'm just gonna open it up for council to make comments or ask any questions that they may have. I'll start off with Councilor Hensley, and then Councilor Carson, and then Councilor Dominguez.
So this is super exciting. I have to say I remember us being at CML, and we were at a conference that had to do with they introduced the whole LEAD program, and there was a few of us, and we were just like, this is so cool. And for me, I'm one who always sort of thinks outside the box. So I thought, well, I could see this being a good vision and seeing this, being something, because what was happening wasn't working. And so we went through the process, and then obviously had a few hiccups. And when I say hiccups, when you do anything that's creative and outside the box, you got to reevaluate and relook at things, and sometimes reassess and how it works. And I love that we all came to the table. I remember sitting down there and having that sort of like, hey, here's what's going well, here's not what's going well. How do we revision this? And then having the co-responders, and again, what you two are doing and the team in regards to doing things that are cutting edge, again, setting that example. So I feel like all through this process, we're sort of being the front runners, we're being the ones that are starting this off. And in doing that, obviously you have to sort of create your own path. But I am just so proud and so happy of how this is going. And just want to commend you all for all of your hard work and continuing to focus and continuing to say, hey, how can we make this happen? So thank you so much.
Thank you, Councilor Hensley, Councilor Carson, and Councilor Dominguez.
I'll echo what she said. Thank you, guys. What you're doing right now is, it's a path forward for the community. I mean, I was talking to these guys last week, and I think the whole department as a whole, the approach you guys are using with this as a tool, you're changing, I think you're changing the way the community may move forward, and instead of just, jailing people automatically, trying to change the behavior at a root point. And I think that's the way to save some of these people. I mean, some people you're just, you can't, but what you guys are doing is gonna really, I think, probably save a lot of the young people in this community, especially. You know what I mean? If they're willing to take advantage of what you guys are doing, I think it's really gonna change their life instead of just some of the approaches we've used in the past. And slapping them on the hand isn't doing anybody any good, you know what I mean? So maybe this is the path forward. So thank you guys. Thank all you guys for sure. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Counselor Carson. Counselor Dominguez, and then Counselor Jackie Vigil.
Thank you guys. The PD for St. Ben's for turning it around. You guys for being there when the phone rings. You two working together and the community sees this, and relationships is where it starts. I think a lot of people don't understand what you guys do and they would stay away and they didn't want to get in on anything. But when you start building relationships with people and they know you want to just help them, it changes and it's trust. So thank you guys for being human and doing the job you do, because I know it ain't easy. You too, Steph.
Thank you, Counselor Dominguez. Counselor Jackie Vigil.
I just want to say thank you also. I think it's still a very exciting program that helps the community as a whole, not only the people that are utilizing the program, but the community itself, because it feels like it's just a safer community with the program, with the lead program, the CSOs. So just want to commend you for what you've been doing.
Thank you, Counselor Jackie Vigil. Okay, I don't see any other hands raised or any other lights on, so I'll just wrap it up. I just have a quick question. Early in the presentation, you all mentioned that you had 7 referrals from the APD and you have more buy-in from the police department. What do you attribute that to?
Delivery, as simple as that, how that message is being broadcasted to our officers, right? It's simple. As you guys know, I receive a message from the chief and then it is my job to deliver that message to patrol. And how we deliver that message is why we get buy-in from patrol officers, showing them more how it could impact more than just that single call for service with that one individual, what it could change in a week or a month or 6 months. And I think they've seen the drastic changes with St. Benedict's and with other projects that this team is headed. Then they see, okay, maybe we should believe Sergeant Squires a little bit. Maybe this program is actually working. I'm definitely not taking the credit for it because this gal next to me is steamrolling the police department into these programs and it's working. But I would say it's delivery and consistency with every person in our department across the board and staying on them and being consistent.
I think also when we made some of the changes we made from change in leadership at the police department, when we had initially set this up, essentially it was kind of placed with the chief who can get pulled in a lot of different directions, and as well as the co-responder program. And being able to dedicate time to that messaging and seeing where things are working and not working and those types of things. So I think we actually got lucky when the state said, you've got changes in personnel. We want to make a change as far as having the program manager be a city employee type of thing. And then at the same time, when we created this extra sergeant position, it actually wasn't intended to necessarily just do this. It was created as a sergeant to be able to help both in investigations and in operations side. But that was also when the light bulb went off on, this could be a position to oversee the co-responder lead thing as well. And so then this position could have a little bit more time to ensure the success of the programs and to be communicating with officers and all of that. And so when Sergeant Squires is talking about messaging, it's one thing when you're a case manager and you're seen as an outsider versus when you're a law enforcement officer wearing the badge, the uniform, and you know what it's like being an officer and what's important and not important. And it's a whole different language. So even for Stephanie, who's internal, it's still a different language, officer to officer. And so I think those were some very key changes from a messaging, ownership. And then if there is a bump in the road, being able to have that kind of communication to help explain the bump in the road and catch it and that kind of stuff too. So I think the reorganization and that kind of stuff made a big difference.
Thank you. Thank you for that. And it's reassuring here for council to hear the positive changes that you all are implementing and to see it continue to be a success. So we encourage you to keep on doing the great work that you're doing. Okay,
Thank you, Council.
thank you. Okay, that brings us to the next item on the agenda, Development Services Quarterly Update on Housing Downtown Plans. Ms. James?
That's a really unfair act to have to follow. That's okay. I'm here to entertain, not change lives. Oh, that's okay. I've had lags with PowerPoints all day. Okay. Next slide, please. Okay, so it's kind of light this time. It's the dead of winter, so it's been a little quiet, but it's still a lot of really exciting things. We put out the banner RFP in late November. We only had one response. The banner project is banners for downtown designed by a local artist. We're gonna have the city fabricate them. We have to buy some new brackets for our decorative light poles downtown, but it's kind of been a goal of our Main Street Committee for several years. We started conversations with an artist, I think 3 years ago, that didn't really go anywhere. But it'll be really nice to have something that's very like branded by Alamosa and is a local artist. And we put out a call to artists. And a lot of people showed interest. We got a lot of calls and emails from local artists, but then again, it was kind of the holidays and I think it fell off people's radar. But we did get a really wonderful submission. There's images towards the end of my presentation. But Casey McCoy was successful. And we're working through the design process with him now. We also put out to bid the alley activation project. It was one of the last things Steve Copley did before he left the city, which we're still mad at him about. The low bid was a local engineer, Reynolds Engineering, and beautiful work, like just seamless, knows exactly how to design for the city. And we already have the first preliminary plans for the 3 alleys that are being redesigned. And just to clarify, it's the alleys between State and Edison, I think. It's 3 alleys. They're all on the south side of Highway 160. The reason that those were chosen, those 3 alleys were prioritized is we were awarded $2 million from DOLA to redo alleys. And I think originally the plan was to do 1 alley and do a complete excavation. And then we it would be the one adjacent to the new hotel. And then we kind of regrouped during the application process and we said, hey, we could it's actually Harry, but we could reline the sewer lines and actually get more bang for our buck. And these alleys really aren't that bad. They don't need a full excavation rebuild. Like we can resurface them. We can deal with some of our drainage issues. That is not true for the alleys on the north side of the highway. So if you're thinking about like the one behind JCPenney's, that one needs to be completely excavated and rebuilt because there's an ocean back there in the wintertime that turns into an ice skating rink. So these are kind of maybe sort of a more superficial treatment, but they get rebuilt, they'll be safer, they'll be brighter, there'll be better drainage. There's a lot of pavement issues in those alleys, and so that'll all be fixed. And then we get to do sort of like the fun, pretty stuff that was in our downtown plans, which is really where these ideas come from. So alley activation was one of our 5 catalytic projects, and this is another time where we've actually checked the box of getting one of our catalytic projects done from the downtown plan. So it's a big deal. So anyways, engineering plans is a really boring milestone, but a big deal for Public Works and Development Services. So next, please. Funding. So we applied for $734,000 to do a block of the Hunt Avenue project. So when we applied for the Hunt money, we applied for it in 2022 dollars. And we thought we would be able to do 3.5 blocks is basically what the Hunt rebuild is going to be. Unfortunately, when you're working with CDOT and you're meeting CDOT standards and you have paleontological research to do and historical research to do, and you have to do a full environmental study and you're designing to CDOT standards, even though it's a city street, the funding doesn't go as far. You're also building, you know, a CDOT street, basically. And so we have the funds with that 2.1 million to get all of the 4 blocks designed, and they're like 90% there, so we're really close. But we can't build them all. We can just build one. So the one that's planned to be built next year is the block between 4th and Main Street. So kind of the worst block in terms of the quality of the street. And that is a full excavation, full rebuild, replace all the utilities, and then do some really exciting street treatments. So the theme of that block is the Great Sand Dunes. And so there's interpretive elements throughout, you know, whether it's, you know, wavy features in the sidewalk and seating walls that look like the sand dunes are etched in them, and just a lot of things that evoke the theme that, you know, we're the home of a national park and it's the Great Sand Dunes. So we will be able to build that one. We have the funds for that one, but we're looking for the funds to do another one. And so the block that we're concentrating on is the historic railroad block, which is south of 160. So it's the block kind of between 160 and 6th Street, sort of next to Valley Lock and Security and the Hunt Avenue Boutique. So that's kind of our next goal. That one is railroad themed, has cool like railroad tracks embedded in the sidewalks, and like the crosswalks look like railroad tracks. So just fun stuff like that. And again, complete rebuild, which we need because lots of our projects are really public works projects with pretty development service things on top so we can get them funded. So CDOT's MMOF program, Multimodal Opportunity Fund, it goes by region to region in CDOT. So we are competing with a lot of our surrounding communities. It's also a really small pot of money. It's like $1.2 million, and it's supposed to last 2 years. So we're not very confident, but we turned in like 1,200 pages of supporting materials. So we tried. We gave it our best shot. So that's kind of a rendering of the railroad block. It doesn't look that exciting, but I promise there's cool features in there. So next, please. These are AI renderings of what Casey McCoy is going to work on for the banners. So these are not Casey's art. Casey just gave us an idea of what he wanted his art to be. We've actually met with him with our Main Street committee and given him some more feedback. So it's a little more Alamosa centric. Like there was a push from Visit Alamosa to make sure that the flowers are all like native flowers. Councilor Hensley was very adamant that there had to be our sunflowers in there, which I support. And so I think that the final design is going to sort of be a mishmash of the two that are up there. Just great sand dunes and wildlife, and maybe not a lonely hiker. Maybe he'll have a friend. And so we met with him. We're working on that, building that relationship with that local artist. Hopefully we end up with a product where we'll have the rights to it. And I mean, we will have the rights to it, but that way we can, as the banners get weathered over time, we can replace them. And it's something we can have for years because we're investing in an actual piece of art for downtown. Beyond that, Deacon has had some very interesting conversations with Lumen and Excel, trying to figure out all the utility issues in Hunt Avenue so that we can actually build next year. So Harry's been a huge help, helping mediating. I think you guys know that moving utilities is maybe the hardest part of building streets, which I don't think I really appreciated until this project. So they've done a lot of heart-to-hearts and some card conversations, but I think we're making progress. And then we meet with CDOT on a monthly basis to talk about the Hunt Avenue project. So that's downtown. Next. And then housing, which really, if I'm being honest, is the bulk of what my department does. Downtown is doing great. Like it's healthy. It's got a lot of buy-in. It's got a lot of buzz. It's independent of us. Like I think that the city's done a lot to really foster downtown, and obviously still doing things like the downtown hotel. But to be honest, it's starting to really just be successful on its own. Whereas housing, you know, we're still nurturing it and working all the time to try to make sure that these projects that we've secured funding for are moving forward. And so our most exciting project right now is the one that I've mentioned to you before, which is the technical assistance grant we got for housing rehab, which is the 3rd tier of difficulty. And there's only 3 tiers. Like there's the low hanging fruit. You could do this tomorrow, and then there's the next level that's like, go get funding for housing, which clearly not easy, but achievable. And then there's like the crazy goals in our housing action plan that are like, you know, if you accomplish everything else, you want to go do something nuts, try this. And unfortunately, we're at that level. I mean, fortunately, we're excited to be at that level. But it means that we're doing some really difficult work. So we're working with a company out of New York City and then Community Builders, which is a Colorado company, and trying to formulate a program that's going to be kind of the first of its kind. And it's basically, how do we save these houses that are the houses that the city's forced to tear down because they're in such bad disrepair? How do we intervene before that? How do we help people get to a point where when their roof is failing and the entire house is compromised, how do we help them replace the roof before they ever get there? And it's not just going to be the city, you know, it's going to have to be buy-in from local banks and support from local contractors and support from nonprofits. And it's kind of a large and convoluted process, but we don't know how to begin. And so that's why we have this technical assistant group of experts trying to help us create this program. They're pulling from programs all over the country and trying to create one that will work in Alamosa. They've got a great group of local stakeholders that is contractors and is bankers and is people that are invested in our community. And they're not all fans of the city. We specifically picked people for this stakeholder list who don't like us very much. I had a contractor conversation the other day where I was like, I know you're mad at me. It's fine, but can you please participate in this process? Because I need someone that's going to be honest and who flips houses a lot in the city and who will tell these technical assistance experts, like, this is the stuff that makes it really hard to work in the city. This is what I don't like about the building department. This is what I don't like about design standards. Like, we need that feedback so that we can work on it and try to get this program to be successful, because we can't help people save their homes if, like, ultimately deep down part of the problem is the city. Obviously funding's an obstacle, obviously manpower is the obstacle. Lots of time these are people that are elderly or developmentally disabled. So there's a lot of barriers, but the city shouldn't be one of them. And so it's a really broad effort and really visionary. I thought it was so lofty that we weren't going to get any tangible results out of it, but we're starting to get feedback from them that is really actionable, which is what we hoped for. So it's kind of the best possible outcome. And we should have some deliverables by May. It's a really fast timeline. Also a lot of document review. Like, they'll send us like a 15-page document and be like, can we have it tomorrow? And there's no human way that I could do that, but I have a deacon and he does. So it all works out. We're also prepping for the Tierra Azul groundbreaking, which is, 4 or 5 years in the making. We're $6 million in. We're a little invested as the city, but it's a big deal. I told the chamber luncheon today that I'm sure the weather will be beautiful because it'll be 5:30 on a Monday afternoon in March, but you never know. Like, maybe it'll work out, and if not, the wind will be worth it because it is such an important project. So we're hoping people show up. It's a little bit in a weird location. We're inviting the whole community Monday, March 24th, 5:30. You have to drive past the existing housing developments on Craft Drive. So, like, once you reach the end of houses, that's where the new houses will be. Sort of the best way I can tell everyone. We did assign an address, but if you put it into Google, it will take you to Carroll Park. So we are sorry about that. We're trying to fix that a little bit, or including maps. Anyway, so please show up. It's going to be a really exciting groundbreaking. We've invited everyone we can think of, and it's a really big moment. It's, 400 units of housing. These are the first 137. It has been blood, sweat, and tears to get us to this point, and it's the most promising housing lead we have. It's a beautiful, transformative project, different types of housing across all sorts of income spectrums. It's literally a project we will talk about for decades to come. Next, funding. This is me like saying I did something great, but really I reported on it in December. So you already know about this, but the phrasing is different. But basically we just have executed contracts for the $1 million that we got in December. So the only thing that's nice is that we did get to go through some contract amendments. And so Dawn for Boyd, she didn't have any administrative costs covered. It wasn't part of the original grant. So the person that was serving as project manager for her was doing it pro bono. And so, like, that's someone with a ton of construction experience, which, like, Dawn and I don't have, but that knows how to manage a big multi-million-dollar capital project. And he was just doing it out of the goodness of his heart. And so now he actually gets paid, which is exciting. And then we are also able to find out that in the historic Boyd structure itself, some of these funds that are really infrastructure funds, so water, sewer, streets, the same funding that's for everything. In a historic structure, you can actually cover some of the HVAC, electrical, plumbing costs. Big deal, because that's a pretty big line item for the rehab of Boyd. So we are able to amend the contract and she gets some of that covered, and it's a big deal to have that level of help. Next, please. And then just outreach and relationships, like we're regularly meeting with small scale housing developers. You know, we have like a cool project that just went through the variance process with Planning Commission where they're going to tear down 2 houses, which yes, makes us sad, but they're replacing them with better houses. And it'll solve some access issues and, you know, nicer housing. They're basically kind of unsalvageable, the houses they're replacing. And so those like small scale conversations we have all the time. But then we do have bigger conversations. We meet with the Behavioral Health Administration to do follow up on Horizon Heights still regularly. We're still meeting, you know, we have probably a meeting a week with the people that are working on the housing rehab program right now. And then we meet fairly regularly with the folks like the engineering team and the contracting team that are leads on Tierra Azul. So it's amazing the weird issues that crop up at the last minute when you're trying to break ground. Like there was like a huge disaster over sidewalks that was luckily resolved. So it's an exciting time in my department. It seems a little slow. Like I usually feel like I have more bullets, but I promise you there's a lot that goes into those individual bullets. So that's all I've got today.
Very good presentation, Ms. James. Thank you so very much. I'll open it up to council to see if any council members have any questions or comments. Councilor Dominguez.
Thank you, Rachel. I'm glad to see some of the things that worried me when I first got here that are being done, and obviously been a part of conversations from the beginning of time. It's just how to get to them and make them work for the community. So thank you guys and Harry and all of yous in that department. I know it's not easy to work with utilities or with all the other partners you need to work with in order to make what you want to do happen. So thank you guys for staying strong with all that.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Dominguez. Okay, any other council members? I don't see any other comments. Rachel, I always welcome your input and sharing that new information that's going on across the city. And I'm just so impressed to see all these big bulldozers and heavy equipment on different streets around the town. And I didn't even know we had that many big tractors around available, accessible. So it's really impressive seeing all these roads get torn up and being put back in place and buildings being built. It's exciting time. So keep up the great work.
I probably should have mentioned there's a multi-million-dollar hotel going into downtown.
Yes,
Probably
yes.
should have said that, or like there's a multi-million-dollar renovation of the old courthouse happening. There's a lot of really exciting things happening. But yes, thank you for saying bulldozers and triggering that part of my brain.
Oh, you're welcome. You're welcome.
Thank you.
Okay. Well, thank you so much. Okay. All right. That brings us to the next item on the agenda. Public hearing and resolution number 2-2025, third budget amendment for 2024 annual budget. I believe that's you.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. This is our last budget amendment to close out the 2024 budget. As council knows, we do a pretty tight budget. So from time to time, we need to do an amendment in order to make sure the overall divisions balance out. Rather than go line item by line item, I think I'll just talk kind of the bigger picture. So I think where you will see a few adjustments from a trend perspective. For the first time, our sales tax did not perform as well as what our budget was. It wasn't dramatically below it, but it did not perform to the 3% that we had anticipated for the budget. Thankfully, to offset that, the interest on investments outperformed what we had anticipated in the budget. And so from a revenue perspective, those two areas managed to balance each other out. The other type of category you're going to see throughout is just some of those capital projects. How much ended in 2024? How much is going to carry over to 2025? Some of the cleanup from we got grants this year, but the project's carrying over. Just some different things like that. We overestimated credit card fee revenue, so we made some corrections there. It was our first time, 2024 was, having that fee, so we were kind of guessing, but now we actually have history that we can budget going forward on. So from a revenue perspective, obviously golf did very well and recreation did well as well from their revenue perspective for some of their memberships and sales. The other larger area that we probably had a change is our HR and our personnel cost in police. We had a few individuals leave that had significant paid time off that we needed to pay. And then we also had a combination related to that overtime rule where instead of at 80 hours, we pay to 86. And when we were doing the overhire. So a combination of those two together was about 103. We've stopped doing the overhire because we are not seeing the turnover that we were seeing in previous years. We just didn't stop it in time. And now we know how to better manage for that change in the overtime rule as well. But when you look through some of these others, it's just making some corrections. Our ARPA was all in one fund instead of hitting the different divisions. So this was just to put those ARPA funds in the correct divisions where we expended the funds. And other than that, I can answer any questions that you might have.
So since this is a. this
Oh,
is
it's a
top-
public hearing.
public
Yes,
hearing,
thank you.
So I'm gonna go ahead and open up the public hearing for resolution number 2-2025, the third budget amendment for 2024 annual budget. If we have anyone in the audience who would like to come up to the podium, make any comments regarding this resolution, now would be the time to do so. Okay, I don't see anybody coming from the audience, so I'll open it up for the public on Zoom. If you're on Zoom and you would like to participate in this public hearing, now would be the time to use the raise your hand feature at the bottom of your screen to be recognized to make your comments. Sir, I don't see any hands raised, do you?
There are no hands raised.
Okay, being that there are no hands raised at this time, I'll go ahead and close the public hearing, bring it back to council for comments and our motions. Okay, Councilor Cripps?
I have no questions, Mayor, so I'll go
Okay.
ahead and recommend that we set this for a second hearing.
No, it's just a resolution.
Just a
It just
resolution.
comes with a public hearing because it's a budget amendment.
Thank you. Then I would like to make a motion to approve resolution number 2-2025.
Thank you, Councilor Cripps.
I'll second.
Thank you, Councilor Hensley. We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? If not, please start voting.
Counselor Jackie Vigil,
Yes.
Counselor Jan Vigil,
Yes.
the motion carried unanimously.
Thank you so very much. Okay, that brings us to the next item on the agenda, City Manager Legal, the selection of art for purchase.
Okay, so this is just, a fun night with just lots of fun things. So going to the next slide, we always like to just do a quick recap of the city-owned pieces, so you can have that in your mind as you think about if we want to purchase a piece. So you've got 2 bronze pieces there, and then the rocket ship, which we've moved in front of Hobbytown. Next slide. 3 bronzes there, and then the apple that's on the corner in front of Big John's. Next slide, no bronzes on this one. We've got the glass mosaic, the big sunflower kind of windmill, and then the ASU project that we've placed out at the rec center. Next slide. We've got the Caterpillar, which is still at its home now at the Boys and Girls Club at the Hub, which I hear many people stop to take selfies with. And we've got the other medal, the with the dog forever in my heart. So leading into the recommendations, the Creative District Committee did vote on what recommendations they wanted to make to you tonight. Their first recommendation is to save the money to combine it for future purchases. The second recommendation, and I think this picture was squished down because this is a pretty tall piece, the dragon flower. And then their third recommendation is Zen. From a staff perspective, our recommendation would be the dragon flower, both from how tall and bright it is and it is good for outdoor weather as well as the cost. But then as a reminder, in addition to those pieces, here are the other pieces that we do have. So it's Budding with Gratitude from Jody Bliss. Raising Women, and I'm not even trying that one. Butterflies, I believe this one's is by Woody's on kind of a kayak. Cycling Revolution. Donatella. Slow Dance. Songs of Joy. Harrow the Eagle. My Surfboard. And Control Tower. And I'm not sure if council knows every single piece we have, but there are two that are not shown because they've actually already been purchased. So the one by Kasha, the Dreamcatcher, has been purchased, as well as the piece where the gentleman is raising the American flag. So we've already had two pieces purchased out of this year's that then are not available for our purchase. So if council does want to look at purchasing something, we do have about $6,000 available. Obviously, sometimes you guys have gone a little bit above that as well. We can look at finding that. And I'll turn it over for council discussion.
All right, yeah.
And Ariel, you might want to be ready to go back and forth when they talk.
This is the fun part, so, all right, I'll recognize those who have their mics on or raise your hand on Zoom. I saw Counselor Yun Vihill's hand raised, in Counselor Hensley. So we'll start off with Zoom with Counselor Yun Vihill, followed by Counselor Hensley.
Okay, this might be a shock to some people, but I am good with the recommendation of the art committee. Save a little bit of money for next year. Maybe go after more or something that might be a little bit more expensive. And I really was hoping the one with the metal of them raising up the American flag, that's an awesome sculpture. I wish we could still get that one, but that's my thoughts. Thank you.
Thank you, Counselor Yun Vihill. Counselor Hensley?
So just curious if the flag one is staying in town?
I don't know where they're gonna place it. I can find out who purchased it and let you guys know and see if they know where they're gonna put it. It is a local company that purchased
Okay.
it.
Because my other thought to that was, I didn't know, I don't even know how much that was, but potentially the artist could make something else. I don't know if we've ever done that where we say, we liked it so much, would you make us something similar? But I don't even know if it's what the price range was. So,
We can do that. That is your guys' prerogative. I also know the reason we would sometimes buy from this is then we can promote people to submit their pieces, because then the pieces get purchased. So we can say, since the inception, 15 pieces have been purchased, or different things like that too.
so, with that being said, I do really like the dragon flower. I do like the color. I think it lends itself to a lot that we're doing. I like things that really stand out. And it's pretty happy. So, and since I have that sunflower theme that Rachel's already talked about, but I actually would support them getting the dragon flower.
Thank you, Counselor Hensley. Okay, Counselor Jamie Dominguez, and then Counselor Krebs.
I'm gonna go with the first recommendation to save.
Okay, thank you, Counselor Dominguez, Counselor Krebs, and then Counselor Carson, and then Counselor Jackie Vihill.
Thank you, Mayor.
You're welcome.
Having been sitting on the creative district and hearing some of the backstory on some of these pieces, and I'll have Heather clarify for me. This is the first year that we raised the amount of how much they cost to the artists to bring them in. They usually say, oh, hey, when they do that call for artists, they say, oh, we're looking for pieces, but only about this much money. And I think this year we raised the price of that from something to something.
So I think it was 20 or 30,000 before, and we've raised it to 50,000. And you wouldn't know this because you guys haven't seen the pieces yet, but I don't think it's made a difference in the types of pieces we've
Okay.
gotten submitted.
And the only reason I brought that up is as I was looking through these, I did notice that some of these are higher than what our budget usually is. But if we continue that with the call for artists, and inviting them to submit higher cost pieces and the word gets out, then I am with the other counselors that we save this money for next year, and because I think we might get our socks blown off and we'll be able to have it in our own budget to be able to purchase something really nice.
Okay, thank you, Counselor Cripps. Counselor Carson, followed by Counselor Jackie Vio.
I'm okay with saving some money, but I'd rather buy Slow Dance and then save the rest. But that's my opinion. Yeah, I like that piece. But that's my personal preference. If not, I'm cool with saving it.
Okay,
I just like that piece. I think it's quite different than anything else we own. It's not a bronze. It's cool. I mean, depending on how big it is, how big is it?
It's pretty tall. I don't have the dimensions in front of me
Oh, so
though.
it's like really tall?
Yeah.
Oh, I just think that one's cool. Otherwise, I'm cool with saving it too. I don't think we need to blow it, you know what I mean? We've got a ton of art already, and waiting for something spectacular is always pretty good too, but I don't know, it sounds like you got some inside info on some pieces that might be coming.
I don't think, no.
Well, then let's buy Slow Dance.
okay, Counselor Jackie Vio.
I agree with everyone else. Let's just save the money and see what we get next year.
Okay. All righty, so right now we have Liz looking at the sunflower slopes. What is it?
Dragonflower.
Yeah, you good? Looks like we may have a consensus to hold off this year in hopes of being able to buy more next year.
Okay.
Okay.
I think since we're not but we'll go ahead and just do a motion. I don't think we really need one, but go ahead and just do a motion to save the funding.
Okay,
So
sure.
moved.
Counselor Carson moved.
So moved.
We have a second.
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second by Counselor Hensley. Any further discussion? If not, please start voting.
Counselor Jackie Vihil,
Yes.
Counselor Jan Vihil.
Yes.
The motion carried unanimously.
Okay,
Can I ask a question?
yes, go ahead.
So could we ask the flag guy to, or flag person, I don't know who it was that made it, that we really liked it, maybe they could in the future make some more art to bring out?
Absolutely, yeah.
Okay.
We always send the notice that we're advertising to the previous artists. So I don't know if he has a piece in this upcoming year or not.
Okay. I agree, though. I really like that. I'm hoping it's staying in town.
Yeah, it's tough. I mean, it's tough. It's like a kid, you bypassing a toy right now to get a big one later on, you know, so. But I'll go with you all on this one. Okay. All right, so let's go to the next item on the agenda. Committee reports. Do we have any committee reports? No committee reports? Okay, good. That brings us down to staff announcements.
Okay, Mayor, some of it is a little bit repeat that was included in some of the other presentations, but just to make it super clear, we do have some events coming up. So on Tuesday, the 25th at 7 a.m., Aaron shared that it's Youth of the Year. And so for the first time since I've got a teenage driver who can take his younger brother to school, I plan to be there. So
Awesome.
I'm pretty excited. We also have, on Monday, March 24th, as Rachel shared, the groundbreaking ceremony for Tierra Azul. This really is, when you look at the housing crisis that we have, and the full build out is bringing about 400 units from affordable housing perspective to our community. I mean, this is huge. But I also just want to say for our staff and Rachel and Deacon partnering with, CRHDC, having those weekly phone calls for years type of situation. It's been a lot of work, compromise and pushing and all of those kinds of conversations, but we're here and we're breaking ground. And so it's really, really exciting. And then it has not been brought up, but on March 28th, Andy and his team will be doing neighborhood outreach for the park playground design and trying to get feedback in on what that should look like. And that's made possible for some of these grants that Rachel and Dawn have gone after for the Boyd School. The other park that's gonna get attention this year from playground and all of that you've heard is Cole Park and the adaptive type of playground and those types of things as well. So some exciting stuff from our Parks and Rec team as well. And obviously, Second Street is under construction, as well as all the other construction projects that have been mentioned. So the season is warming up and turning to that time.
That's an awesome report. Thank you so much, Ms. Sanchez. Okay, that brings us to council comments. Do we have any council comments? Councilor Crib.
It was just another huge thank you to all the city staff. Just hearing all the different projects and each of them groundbreaking in their own way, from the co-responder and the lead program to what's going on in housing to what's going on just in economic development and things of that nature. So with the size of the staff, the amount of work that they're doing, just thank you so much for all your hard work.
Thank you, Councilor Krebs. Yeah, I don't see any other hands raised on Zooms or lights on up here, so I'll go ahead and just. Oh, I didn't see it. Okay, go ahead, Councilor Yonville.
Sorry, Mayor. Question about Second Street. Is that just the utility stuff underneath the ground, or is that gonna be full redone, all of it this summer?
It's full redone, so it's all below ground and above ground.
Wow. Okay, cool.
Yeah, it's a big one. It was initially, was it just 2 phases initially and we combined it to 1? It was initially 2 phases and just from a get up and go set up for the construction, we combined it into 1. And Harry's coming up to the podium. I don't know if you can see that through Zoom.
Oh, that's good. Thanks, Harry. Thanks, Heather.
You're welcome.
While Harry's here, I do want to compliment him for his amazing driving skills as we drove 5 hours each way for a 7-minute presentation. But we did bring in $500,000 for that. So Harry, thank you for pulling that information together. And Harry's gonna have his hands full with the construction of a new sanitation shop this year. And if you see the crews, they're so excited. And I wish you could see where they're at right now to really know what a difference this is gonna make. I'll send you guys the presentation so you can see the pictures. But it's finally gonna give them the space they deserve as own employees and as team members. And then it's a facility that's gonna protect the public investment in these really expensive vehicles. So we're really excited about that.
I mean, the sanitation crew is probably the department that needs the least amount of attention. They're just the go-getters. They don't look for any type of pat on the back. They're always there every day, and they probably have the worst conditions. So this is rightly deserved, and we're excited to be able to get it to them. So
It's awesome, awesome. Well, I'm gonna wrap things up, and I'll start off by saying congratulations to Harry and Heather. They do this every year. They make these long drives, and I've been fortunate to go with them a couple of times, and 7 minutes and you're done. And to be that impactful in that short amount of time takes a lot of preparation and commitment and focus and professionalism at a higher level. And you all do a wonderful job of doing that. Thank you for going out there and getting the money. I mean, if you really equate that to like NFL players, you got paid like $500,000 for 7 minutes. That you all are pros. You're pros. Good job. Good job. And then I would like to thank Mark Loy for being here today, filling in for our city attorney, Eric Squeezow. We always appreciate you. Well, thank you for glad to have you here. And then finally, once again, just to reiterate, we'd like to see everyone at the groundbreaking this Monday coming up at 5:30. Really excited about this opportunity, a history-making event for the city of Alamosa. And we're looking forward to see this development help fill that big, huge housing crisis gap that we have right now. So with that being said, I don't see any more lights on. I think everybody's had their say, and this meeting is adjourned. Thank you. Good job. Appreciate it. I like that.